Almost every culture through history speaks of the Great Flood. This is described in the Bible by the prophet Noah, who is instructed by God to build an ark. After the entire earth was flooded, the world began again, silent, empty, and washed clean by judgment. Only one family remained, and from that family 3 sons would rebuild the nations of the earth, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But their story is more than genealogy. It's a map of how humanity spread across the world, how rebellion and faith divided nations, and how one act of disobedience caused God to reclaim a land for himself. This is the story of the sons of Noah.
After 5 months of the entire earth being flooded, the ark finally came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. Yet Noah and his family remained inside for over 7 more months, waiting until the earth was completely dry. Only then did God speak, "Go forth of the ark." Stepping onto renewed ground, Noah built an altar unto the Lord and offered burnt offerings. God received the sacrifice, and the very first thing he did was to bless the future of mankind. Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. This blessing was spoken to all 4 men, Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, marking the beginning of God's relationship with the new world. Then the Lord spoke again, "And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you." It was a promise of mercy. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. God promised to never flood the earth again and sealed this covenant with the rainbow, which he set in the clouds. This token was an eternal promise between God, Noah, his sons, their future generations, and all living creatures. Thus, from the 3 sons of Noah, blessed and included in the covenant, the families of the earth would once again spread across the world. Shortly after this time, Noah's sons and their wives began to repopulate the barren earth. According to the Book of Jubilees, Noah gathered his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and all their families. He called them together to divide the newly restored world, so that each would have a distinct inheritance. This division was not done through argument or ambition, but by lot, meaning the choice of territory was determined through a sacred casting, leaving the decision in the hands of God. Noah reminded his sons that the Most High had given the earth to mankind, but that each family was to remain within their appointed borders. This was to prevent conflict and ensure peace among their descendants. He then drew up a written record marking the boundaries and regions for each son. Shem's portion stretched across the central lands, from the rising of the sun toward the west, the heartlands of the ancient world, including what would become Mesopotamia and the Holy Land. Ham's lot fell toward the south, the warm regions of Africa and parts of Arabia, and Japheth's inheritance extended toward the north and west, larger and colder territories, reaching into Europe and beyond. Noah solemnly warned them not to encroach upon one another's portions, for the land boundaries were set not by man, but by divine will. This moment marks the first recorded covenant concerning land and nations, a divine allotment of God's order and purpose for mankind.
Shem, whose name means renown or name, was the eldest and most blessed of Noah's sons. From his lineage would come the Semitic peoples, the line of faith, covenant, and prophecy. The children of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. Genesis chapter 10, verse 22. The Book of Jasher and Jubilees both record that Shem remained faithful to God and instructed his descendants in righteousness. Generations later, a man named Abram, later called Abraham, was born in Ur of the Chaldees. When he was still young, he came to live with Shem and Eber, descendants of the righteous line, and there he was taught the ways of the Lord. Thus, the faith that began before the flood was preserved through Shem and passed down to the man through whom God would establish his covenant forever. Ham's name means hot or burnt, fitting for the southern territories given to him. And the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim and Phut and Canaan. Genesis 10, verse 6. The Book of Jubilees goes into great detail about the inheritance of Noah's sons. It reveals that Ham's portion was in the south, but his son Canaan desired the rich land that belonged to Shem. He saw the valleys and hills of the region and settled there, ignoring Noah's warning. This is the land that would later be called the land of Canaan. When Noah discovered this disobedience, he declared, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren." Genesis 9:25. That single act, taking what was not his, carried consequences for generations. The land Canaan seized became the very territory God later reclaimed for himself. It would be the land promised to Abraham, the land of Israel. This trespass of Ham's line set the stage for God's redemptive plan, to give the stolen inheritance back to the line of faith. Still, Ham's descendants became powerful nations. Cush fathered the Ethiopians, Mizraim founded Egypt, Phut spread across Libya, and from Canaan came the Canaanite tribes, who filled the land before the time of Joshua. Japheth's name means expansion, and his many descendants indeed spread far and wide, across Europe, the north, and into Asia. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras. Genesis 10:2. The Book of Jubilees describes Japheth's portion as a cold, broad land filled with mountains and great seas, while the Book of Jasher reinforces that Japheth's 7 sons migrated north to the west and occupied lands away from the Middle East. His lineage gave rise to the Indo-European nations, from the Greeks to the Medes and Persians, and to the tribes of the far north. These became known as the Isles of the Gentiles, spreading art, language, and exploration across the continents. In time, the descendants of Noah grew proud. Nimrod, the grandson of Ham, became a mighty ruler and gathered men together to build a great city and a tower whose top would reach unto heaven. The book of Genesis records their words, "And let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered upon the face of the whole earth." But this was more than ambition. It was rebellion. Instead of spreading across the earth as God had commanded, they sought to remain united in their own strength, establishing their own name apart from Him. Then the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men had built. And in a single moment he confounded their language, so that one man could no longer understand another. Where once they spoke as one, now their words became divided and confused. Cooperation turned into chaos. Builders could no longer work together, and the great project came to a halt. It was then that they began to separate, each group drawn away by their new tongue, forming families and nations according to their speech. And so the Lord scattered them abroad upon the face of all the earth, just as he had intended from the beginning. And the boundaries set in the days of Noah were fulfilled, as the nations were divided according to their families, under Shem, Ham, and Japheth. When Noah divided the earth, the world was still one family. The Book of Jubilees reminds us that these divisions were not random. God himself directed the boundaries of the nations. But as generations passed, pride, distance, and language divided humanity. Each son's descendants built their own kingdoms, yet all still carried the mark of Noah's covenant. From these three brothers came all the nations of the earth. Each line had a purpose in his design. From Shem's covenant line, to Ham's strength and civilization, to Japheth's expansion across the earth. Yet in their story, we see the hand of a sovereign God, setting boundaries, guiding destinies, and weaving redemption through generations. The story of Noah's sons is the story of us all, of mercy after judgment, of order after chaos, and of a creator who still calls the nations back to himself. And God said, "This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations."